Do you and your partner want to learn simple ways to grow closer?
Do you and your partner want to grow happier together?
Do you and your partner want to be a unified front?
Do you and your partner want to divorce-proof your marriage?
If you answer yes to these questions, you need to check out our book, Unlocking Forever, 10 Keys to a Successful Marriage Beyond I Do.
Each section focuses on a different aspect of marriage and briefly describes how we handled it in our relationship. At the end of the section, you're given an action step or key to complete with your partner.
These keys are practical steps you can immediately implement in your relationship and help you and your partner be proactive and intentional about your relationship.
You can purchase your copy on Amazon.com.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.
After over 25 years of marriage, we've learned that successful couples have great friendships, put each other first, and focus on light just as much as love. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with the hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We're just simply sharing y'all how we navigated through our marriage. Now, on with the show.
Thank you for joining us again on the Beyond I Do podcast. Today, our special guest is Miss Monique Caradine-Kitchens. Did I get it right?
That's me. I did.
Perfect.
All right.
And Miss Monique comes to us from Overflow Enterprises, LLC, where she helps women work through money mindset issues to transform and have money breakthroughs. So we would like to welcome you. I cut your introduction a little bit short. I want to let you tell us about you, and then I will interject in between because we have an impressive guest with us today. So I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll interject when you're not bragging enough.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you all. I am a long-time hard worker, probably much like both of you. I've worked a job since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And, you know, when you think about all that time, I won't say exactly how old I am, but I'm old enough to know that if I do the math, having worked since 14, if I would have done right by my money, I should be a multimillionaire by now.
Right.
Yes.
That is not the case yet. And so what I realized along my journey, you know, I worked in radio and TV. I'm from Chicago, so people from Chicago will recognize me from WVON and other places and whatnot. And even though I had a high visibility job, I, you know, got a lot of accolades and I had a lot of street cred, but my bank account did not match up with all that.
Here.
You feel me? So
Right. And that's what counts.
Right. And so as I began to realize that I was not earning what I felt I was worthy of for the job that I did, not only was I on-air personality, but I also was a booker, a producer, a writer, this or that. You know, I did the job of probably 5 or 6 people, like many people in your audience probably do. And I realized that I just wasn't getting paid what I felt I was worthy of. And so when I began to recognize that disconnect, I began to really research money, because at first I was like, well, maybe it's because I'm not working at the right station, or maybe it's because I don't know the right people, or I just don't know how to ask for a raise. What I realized, it had nothing to do with those external things. It was all about my mindset.
Right.
But when I recognized it wasn't about this or that, it was about what's the story I'm telling myself up here about money. Then I began to do research, and I began to talk to women who were millionaires just to kind of see how they think, how they behave, what are their habits.
Well,
So fast forward, I did go to the place where I worked at that time and asked for a raise, and they told me there was no money. So what did I do? I started a side hustle, started making me some cash, and then eventually left that job. And I've been on this pursuit ever since to really understand, how does money work? How does one really make money with ease, especially for Black women, because there's challenge there. So I've been on this money journey ever since. I became a certified money breakthrough coach, and now I coach and train women on this very same topic. And obviously you read my book, so you have written a book about it.
There you go. I was about to say.
Written a book about it. It's called How to Embrace Your Inner Millionaire, and it's all about mindset, because it's never about the external things. It's about what is the story that you're telling yourself. So that's been my work for the past, 15 years now. So it's been an honor. And again, it's an ongoing journey to get to this place where we can really live in the overflow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One of the things that you just mentioned, and this is an area that I work in many areas of my life. You mentioned the word work. And so we start with the brain and with our mind, and that word worth comes into play. So how is it that not feeling worthy affects our ability to make money with ease?
Great question. Our lack of feeling worthy, let's first look at where that actually comes from.
Well,
what happens is we get embedded with a story when we're very young, right? So I could go back and ask both of you, how did you experience money growing up? What was the feeling, the energy in your home when there was a conversation about money, or if a bill was due? Did you come from a lot of money, or did you come from a home where money wasn't a whole lot there, So when you think about those things, that kind of puts an imprint on you. Mm-hmm. And especially if there wasn't a lot of money. In my home, I remember there would be tension every time it was time for my dad to sit down and pay them bills.
Right.
Don't nobody talk. Don't nobody we got to focus. We got to concentrate.
So true.
And so it's like those types of little things. You don't think they make a big difference, but they do. And so at 6 or 7 years old, we all created a money story in our heads. Our little 7-year-old brains had a story about money.
Right.
The story is not worked through if it's not something that you peel back the layers of as you become an adult and start working. Then guess what? You're still making decisions about money from the space of that 7-year-old child.
Right.
Wow.
So all of us have to heal our money story. We have to unpack it. We have to come into relationship with how we think and feel about money, especially how we feel. Because if we don't, then we will always come from the standpoint of, like, for me, it was that tension. It was that, money, like, I don't know. My dad had to work 80 hours a day.
Right.
Seemed like to me, to my young mind.
Right.
So until we deal with all of that and unpack it and then rewrite the story, Margaret, that it fits who we are today.
Right.
Do that, then we'll still be operating with that old money mindset, and that does not serve us.
Right. And it is amazing to me as we meet different people in different areas of expertise. Everything comes right back to how we were wired in those early years and how we keep those beliefs and move through life based on those same beliefs. But it is hard to dial back from them.
Yes, it is.
It is difficult to dial back from them.
It can be very difficult, and it's not always easy to do it on your own. That's why it's important to have other people in your circle that you can work through the issues with. When it comes to money, there are people who call themselves money therapists or financial therapists. They're traditional therapists, and some people have a mastermind or an accountability group or a coaching group. All of those things I found as a recovering superhero
Mm-hmm.
and has a cape with many a hole and many a rip in it because I would take it off.
Right.
So as a recovering superhero, I have realized over the past decade or a little bit more, the value of having that inner circle, people that you can have honest conversations with
Right.
about something as sensitive and as delicate as money. So,
Right.
And that is because we are of an age, and growing up, we were seen and not heard.
Yep.
And it was, don't tell them people what goes on in their house. Don't tell your business. And so all of that, when you talk about these masterminds, you talk about even with therapy and with coaching, where people who are professionals and bound to not telling your business, like people are, they still shy away from that. So how do we work towards being more open and not feeling that shame or that guilt for sharing those types of things?
that's a good question. I think that you have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, if you're looking at your money situation right now, and I want to invite everybody listening to just think for a second about your money situation and answer this question. Am I really where I want to be financially?
Right.
Do I have, first of all, and forget about dollars and cents. Let's just talk about freedom. Do I have the freedom that I desire? Or am I bound to having to trade my hours for dollars?
Yes.
And if that's the case, there's nothing wrong with that. Trust me, like nothing wrong with that at all. But if that's not what you want,
Right.
then we got to start asking ourselves some of these, challenging questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like where you are, like let's give ourselves permission to examine this thing instead of putting our head in the sand and acting like, this isn't an issue. And so when you answer that question, answer it, first of all, without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Reason why we don't want to talk about this, and you alluded to it a second ago, is because we always feel judged.
Right.
And I'm going to need for us to create some spaces. Like, this is what I do every day. I create spaces where it's free of judgment.
Right.
Come up in here, people have told me the most incredible things about their money situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I take pride, Byron, in not having a judgment around it. I'd be like, oh, okay.
Right.
I'll be like, what? You got it. How much that? I'll be like, oh, okay. And it'd be some crazy stuff. But I'll be like, okay.
Oh, yeah. I believe.
Right. And so we have to have a space where there is no judgment, where you feel safe to come talk and be like, here's my situation. Here's how it makes me feel. Here's what I desire instead. Here's the thought that comes up from my childhood that keeps pulling me back into this behavior. And here's what I'm willing to do about it. And now you got somebody there and say, okay, I heard when you said this. Somebody has to repeat back to you what you said.
Right.
I'm kind of giving you like a picture of what like a session would look like.
Mm-hmm.
So that coach or accountability partner is going to repeat back to you what you said so that, they can make sure they heard you right.
Right.
Then let's start talking about, okay, what are the steps that we need to take to get you to where you said you wanted to go?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Always the very first step is to rewrite the old story.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
The story of that I learned as a kid was that money is scarce. We robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, like all of that stuff.
Right.
Now I got to rewrite that and put a new imprint, on my soul, on my spirit, and say, money comes to me and flows to me with ease.
Right.
Don't worry about money.
Yes.
Debt free. We have to start to rewrite it. I'm abundant. I earn what I'm worth and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So it's such interesting work. And here's the other thing that's important. It's not just about money.
Right.
At the end of the day,
right.
The truth be told, how we do money is how we do everything. So if you heal your money situation,
Yes.
Yeah.
you going to heal other areas of
Right.
life just by default.
Right. And I think that because money is so concrete, and there's this almost desperate, you need money. If you can break that, then the rest of it just seems like, oh, this is easy once you get past that hurdle. And I'm talking to me right now. I'm telling me what I need to hear. So I had a moment. Excuse us.
Oh, that's good. It's so true. Like that energy, right? Of I gotta hustle. I gotta grind. I gotta da. I've been there. Like I know that feeling. I do. In those challenging times when you wake up in the morning and you immediately feel this burden on you because the weight of some of our financial obligations and responsibilities can be heavy. And it's seasonal. You know, you go through seasons where things are good. Like I've been there. Like I've had the season where I footloose and fancy free, baby. Listen, we was rolling in it.
Yes.
There've been seasons where it's like, okay, how we gonna do such and such? Like, can I be honest with y'all, right?
Right.
And so once you take away that feeling of desperation, like you said, it's like, it's a weight lifted, it's a freedom, and it suddenly, you start to get opportunities. You start to get to a new season where, oh, such and such said they want to work with me. Mm-hmm. Oh, such they offer me a raise. Oh, I got this opportunity for the,
Right.
It's incredible. But you're right. That desperation, that feeling, oh, I gotta.
Yeah.
We gotta learn how to let that go.
Right.
And so that you make space for the other thing. That's what's happening to me right now. It's interesting that you said that. I'm in a season where I'm saying things differently. I'm talking about money differently. I'm talking about my business differently. And lo and behold, right before I got on the phone with y'all, I did an interview for my podcast, and just chatting it up with my guests afterwards, and the conversation turned into an opportunity. I said, but you look at God.
Right.
That's right.
And that's when you let that desperation go, because, we are conditioned that you work, you save, you budget, you do these things. And so when the income is not there and those other things fall apart and you feel desperate, you're thinking one way only. I need more of this. I need this. I need that. You're blocking those opportunities. But when you let go of that desperate feeling, it's like when you're not worried about it, that's when doors open to things that you didn't even think. So I want to be in that season. I'm trying to get to that season. But you mentioned freedom of time, yes, and being of an age. My focus has shifted so much from that, the materialistic things. Now, I still want some stuff. I want comforts, but I want freedom of my time. I want to control my 24 hours.
It's definitely a trying thing when I think about it. I heard a story at work just the other night. I didn't tell you about this. Young man, I say young man, fell down 19 flights of steps at work.
Oh, gosh.
Something slipped. 74 years old. And, when we had the conversation at work, and I'm like, at 74 years old, do I really want to be out here working like this? And I mean, we've had guys, work until they die, because they didn't have any other type of life.
Right.
Like that. And so those are the type of things I think about, when I am working. It's like I hear people, when I'm retired, how much longer you got? We had that conversation all the time where I got 20-something years. I got
of an age.
10 years. And it's like, I don't know if I want to be out here till I'm 65. I don't want to have to be. And I've been saying that for the last, 15 years. I don't want to have to be. Now, if I'm there and because I decide to be, that's one thing.
Yes.
Like you said, the mindset and the freedom to just say, well, I want to build myself up. So when it comes close to that time, I'll just say, you know what? I don't even feel like going.
Exactly.
By myself. And I said something to someone the other day. I said, retirement is not an age, just a it's a, what I said.
He forgot that.
It's a mindset. It's a number. What is the number that that you will feel comfortable leaving this job,
right,
and saying, "Hey, I'm going to go live my life." You know?
Right.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that. And I feel like there's so many opportunities available to us that if we're not in the right, I won't say the right circles because I don't want to sound judgy, but if you're around people who are thinking about, okay, how can I make the same amount of money on my job that I make on my job or more without having to be at that job? What are some ways that I can do that? How can I make that happen? So, because the quality of our life is based on the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves.
I like that.
Make sure that you're in circles where people are asking themselves those same types of questions.
Right.
Or more challenging questions. Or again, like your network is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure we have an inner circle where we're having those higher level conversations, because I promise you, you all have this podcast right now. It may be a small podcast right now, but when I tell you the potential, Mark, I want y'all to hear me because I'm about to prophesy on y'all.
Yep. Amen.
The potential that you have with this podcast, first of all, the name that you've given it is perfect because there's so many things, so many levels right there, right? The way that you can take this and monetize it, if you really want to not be working the next 3-5 years, that's possible with what you created right here.
Right.
You don't have to go out here and do nothing all deep and have an upfront investment of $25,000 to put into this and hope that you get a return. With this asset that you've created, this digital online audio asset, you can take this and build it.
Right.
Strategically and intentionally. And you can create workshops, live event experiences, retreats. I think we talked a little bit about that.
We did.
Retreats, books. Y'all got to do a book. Y'all got to do a book. Live events, partnerships with brands that align with the vision and the mission of this podcast.
Right.
You can create 6 figures within the next 18 months just on your podcast.
So how do individuals in that situation? So it sounds good. I'm so motivated. I'm so ready. And then I have to get off of here with you. And then I have to go back and grade papers. All right, lesson plans. And he got to go to the mill. And so how do we, and we're of an age, so I have to get my sleep. Because I'm tired. So how do we manage all of those things and still keep the momentum going and keep that drive going?
Yes, great question. Okay, I don't know if I have all the answers, but I will say this. I get it. Like all that's very real. I'm never going to diminish that. You're obviously both very committed to your jobs. And, you're hardworking people. And so that is what it is. You're not going to just not show up just, to go do something frivolous. Like I sense that from both of you. However, right?
That's what you want to do.
I want to sell all this stuff.
I've been waiting.
And ride out there.
I've been waiting on the right lotto number, but it ain't happening.
I want to sell it.
Right, scratch off, boy.
Right out. He said we can't do that though.
But all of that's legit, right? I hear everything. You want to sell, you want to hit the lotto, like all of that's real. So here's what I would say. At the end of the day, your time belongs to you, not your employer, right? And so what I know about y'all, what little I know about y'all, one thing I do know is that y'all got some PTO. You can take off a day or 2 or 3 just so that you can have 2 or 3 days, not the weekend. You let your weekend be what you do on the weekend. But I'm saying to y'all, plan out a day before the end of this quarter Take 1 or 2 days off, a Thursday and a Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and make an experience out of it. You don't have to spend money and go nowhere. You can do a staycation, and y'all at home, you take a half a day. Y'all just have lunch. Go treat yourself to lunch. Brainstorm about, okay, let's talk about this podcast. Yes. Let's plan out 18 months. Right. Let's talk about how we are going to monetize this thing. Time is yours, right? So you got to break that time money equation. Is one guest that I interviewed before. How do you break it? You break it by saying, this is what I want. I have a digital asset already that we've created. Let's get intentional about monetizing this thing.
Right.
Take those 3 days off that you've earned.
Mm-hmm.
We're only going to stop if you take off work 2 or 3 days, especially if you got that time. And you strategize it out. It'd be helpful for you all to get with somebody who can help you with that, right? Somebody that's objective. And put that thing on a whiteboard. We have some good food there, so we can snack and eat and not feel like this is hard. We want to make this experience enjoyable, make it fun. Don't do it in a conference room. Do it someplace where they got bean bags and stuff that you can throw, and so you can feel the creative energy that gets you excited about this and lets the ideas flow. Y'all write them ideas down, and then that third person, they come in and they say, okay, they'll record everything and give it back to you so y'all know what y'all need to do this month, next month, and the next month. You devote 3 hours. I'm going to just be conservative. You devote 4 hours a month to monetizing this podcast.
Right.
You do it intentionally and strategically. Y'all can leave y'all job sooner than you think.
Wow.
Are you going to accept that challenge?
I accept.
Oh, y'all.
and about the time, I don't know what she's told you about me. I work at a paper mill, so I work rotating shifts. So
I'm gonna interrupt him real quick and tell you. I have an issue with time, and I'm working through that. But I want you to listen to what he said. Go ahead.
Okay.
Take it back. Go ahead.
But now, what I was going to say was, so the time off is not the issue for me, as much as it is, just having the objective when I do have the time off to say, okay, this is what we're going to work on today. This is what we're going to work on. The time is there. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't work a regular 9 to 5. That's what I was going to say.
Okay. And I'm proud of him because that's a shift. Because his schedule, that shift dictates a whole lot.
Yes.
So just trying to break him out of that thinking.
Yeah.
And so one issue based on what he said, I will plan out the objectives, and I'll have a whole program planned out for us before it's done. But for one, who is going to make us do it? And two, I'm going to overwhelm us by the time it's done. So we got to learn some balance.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you said, and I think that in part of being intentional, we need to gather more information on where to focus that intent.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is what happens with me. All of the things that you've said, like we've talked about some of these things, I've had these ideas. I have a list of things, book and workshop and, retreats and all these things, printables and just all types of things. I overwhelm myself with the things because I am that desperate kicks in because I'm ready. I want control of my time.
Yes.
And it's a good thing to want control of my time because it motivates me, but then focusing on it too much becomes counterproductive.
Okay, I got a question for you. I got a question because I hear story. There's a story in there that I'm hearing you. And so my job as a coach is to interrupt the story respectfully and lovingly, right?
Right.
My question for you is, what are you afraid of?
So I will write lists and try to anticipate any issue that will come up so that when we execute said plan, it needs to go perfectly because there's no time to have to go back and rethink things. I'm trying to get to my goal. And so there's a fear of failure, but not necessarily because of the regular reasons that people are afraid of failure. I don't really care about what other people think. I have an issue with time, and I constantly feel like time is running out.
Okay, so that's good. Thank you for sharing that with me. I got another question for you. What if I invited you to reframe your thought process? And what if I invited you to fail?
What?
Come on, let's fail, Margaret. Let's fail. Let's fail. Come on, okay, you failed? Good. Let's try something else and let's fail at that. What if I want you to fail, Margaret?
I don't want to.
I want you to fail. Let me tell you why I want you to fail. I want you to fail because I want you to understand that failure is the way to get to success.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't get to success by succeeding. That ain't success.
No. Straight there.
Right. Like, what is that?
So is it on the way to succeeding, you succeed, but you don't necessarily succeed? Is that
you're going to learn a lot more, Byron, by failing than you learn by just getting there.
So,
right.
And for him, so the idea of the journey versus the destination, he gets that.
Yes.
I want the destination.
Just like.
So I'm learning though. I'm learning and I'm becoming more open to it.
I use this car because I love cars. She's in the Ferrari going down the highway. That's where she wants to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Camry with my cruise control set, and I want to take my time because I want to enjoy the scenery. And that's this discussion we've had, and I'm like, because my thing is, I want to know as much as I can about something, so that I never, I don't want to just step on something. I think you have to have a foundation.
Yeah,
like stepping on one stone, stone pavers.
Yes,
and the whole setup instead of stone. So it's like, I'm trying to, well, let's take our time and let's learn. We're gonna get there as we meet people like Monique to encourage us, tell us the nuggets that we're going to need. We're going to meet other people, and it's happening. I mean, really, the mindset is really changing.
It is.
Every time we meet people like yourself, it's like, wow, never even thought of that. So, like you said, that network. Till and I'll be honest with you. January comes. She said, well, I'm gonna start reaching out to people immediately. I was like, I don't feel like doing all that. I don't want to talk to these other ones. People, I just want to do what we've been doing. And so that was the initial thought. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with the flow. But somebody has something that we need.
Yes.
And I was right and she was right at the same time.
Yes.
You guys are giving us all the information that we need to take the next step. You know what I'm saying? So
and we get to share it with our listeners, and we get to have it there for future listeners to come, for our kids to go through and hear and learn. So we get it. It's just like I said, I struggle with time. I'm working.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a journey. Again, like everything, it's a journey. But Byron, you said something. I'm trying to remember what you said. It just resonated with me so much. You said that if initially you wanted to just keep doing it the way you all had been doing it.
Yeah.
But here you are. Now you got all these different people that you've been talking to, and that Margaret is a key, to anything like a breakthrough. Y'all are looking for a breakthrough. You want freedom. You want your time back. You want to be able to do all the things that you want to do without having to worry about money.
Yes.
So the breakthrough that you're looking for is not going to happen if you stay within that comfort zone. You got to stretch yourself like what y'all doing now. You are stretching yourself.
Right.
You're very calculated and very intentional and very, slow and steady wins the race. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good.
Right.
But you want to make sure, Margaret, that you're constantly stretching yourself. So you've mentioned to me how important your time is several times in this conversation. So I'm going to stretch you and say, okay, what are you going to do once we finish this conversation to take back some of your time today within the next 24 hours? I want you to take action towards that. Stretch yourself, get out of that comfort zone and I don't have my time. Let's start doing something about that today. Okay, I'm done.
Ma'am.
All right. Let's make it.
And the thing about it is because I overplan and overthink, I can just pick one of those things and finish and keep moving. So one of the topics that you mentioned in some of your material that you left for us, and we have children, so I'm swinging our direction quickly because I'm impressed, but then disappointed with our younger generations because they have so much at their fingertips, and a lot of them have gotten that and they're using it, but then some of them use it for such poor choices. But anywho, for our children who are they're like mid and early 20s, we were not the type of parents who said you have to go to college, you have to do this. We said you have to have a plan. We tried to encourage them to think outside the box. They struggle with that because of, society. And for whatever reason, they're thinking you do things a certain way. Mm-hmm. But for those younger generation, the early 20s, ones who are just starting, that have this mindset of lack or how do we start putting those things in place for them or giving them those pearls of wisdom to help them, because they're very stubborn and closed-minded sometimes. But so my thing is, if they see us doing it, maybe that'll encourage them. But how do we get that younger generation more open when it comes to money?
Oh man, that's a big one. I think there are several ways you can do it. I mean, at this age, they're in their 20s, and if your kids are anything like my son, like he thinks he knows everything. Like I'm becoming smaller and smaller in his, realm of influence. I mean, he's a great kid and everything, but I've been saying to him, son, let's sit down and have a conversation about your money, because he's working now and doing all the things. And I just want to make sure that he and I sit down and have an intentional conversation. We've had conversations over the years, and he's really good with his money, but I want to start talking now about the next level. What does the next level look like? Right. So I think one of the things that I'm going to do with my son, he's away at college right now, so next time he's home, it's like, ask him, what are the things that you want to do once you graduate from college? He's got one more semester. Okay, you want to get a condo. You want to live out in LA. You want to do this. You want to do that. Oh, that's fantastic, son. Have you gotten the numbers around it? Do you know what that's going to cost? Right. So I think once we, every kid is different. So you have to find out what works for your children. But I think at the end of the day, once we get them to know what the numbers are, how much does my apartment cost monthly? What is it going to cost me to live in the city where I want to live?
Right. Yeah.
have I done my budget to know, okay, I want to have some money to have fun. I got to keep gas in my car. I got to do this. Let's let them look in black and white what those numbers are. Let's add it up. How much your cell phone bill? Let's add it up.
Right.
Once they start seeing how much everything really truly costs, it's going to hit different. Like that money ain't going to hit different. And then it's up to us, though, as parents, and this is what I truly believe. It's up to us as parents to let them know that anything is possible for them. Advice for your kids. If they decide that they want to be influencers or YouTubers, like I go speak at schools all the time, a lot of kids want to be YouTubers. If that's what you want to do, you can do it.
Right.
But understand that there's going to be an upfront sacrifice. You're going to have to invest time and get good at whatever that thing is that you want to do.
Exactly.
The world is your oyster. So to get them out of the lack and the scarcity, we got to up-level our conversations with them. We got to let them know that there are no boundaries, no limits on what you can do. You want to start a business, start your business. You want to do this, do that. As long as you're not hurting nobody.
Right.
And we have to make sure our words, the words that we use, Margaret, making sure. I heard I got to rob Peter to pay Paul all my life growing up.
Right.
Money don't grow on trees.
Money don't grow on
That's
trees.
what I heard.
Get all your life. And they don't mean no harm. We as parents don't mean no harm.
Right.
But that leaves an imprint, and it goes back to the story.
Yeah.
We got to make sure the words that we're using in our households is that money flows to me freely and easily. I don't worry about money. I got a whole manifesto, a money manifesto that, y'all can share with your listeners. It's totally free. And it's just how we going to use our words when it comes to money. How we going to do that? And that's how you get kids to think differently about money.
And there again, I go back to time. I just wish I had had just a little bit of the knowledge that I have now when I was in my early 20s. I tell him all the time, if I had half the thinking, the types of thoughts now that I did when we got married, we'd be halfway around the world by now. And he just looked. I said, or either I would, I don't know. You and your son would be together, but it just
young. So you still got time to do all of that stuff. And that's the thing about it.
Right. Then that's we had kids young, and I would say all the time, 46 and 45 will be free.
Yeah.
Ow.
Not yet though, but it's okay. Almost.
They had a little boomerang, but little boomerang action came.
Right.
One of the things that I remember hearing for a long time is, in TV show Dr. Phil. I was watching him one day, and he said, you can't fix the money problems with money. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I understand it more so now because, say, you have to have a different mindset.
Right.
It's like you can give people $1 million. If they don't have the mindset to hold on to it, they'll lose it within whatever amount of time. For our listeners, can you explain the like what I said about the not fixing money problems with money, and what would be the downside for people who believe that, like if I just get the right lotto number, that'll take care of my problems. Or if I just, like I said earlier.
I think you stated it so brilliantly. The issue is that, and statistics show, most of the people who hit big on the lottery, millions and millions of dollars they get. But in just a few years, a lot of them wind up broke again. Right. And the issue is that money story, right? They're still operating from what that 6 or 7 year old child saw and felt when the topic of money came around. So here you are, a multimillionaire suddenly, but you still have not unpacked the old money story and created a new one. That's why every lottery winner needs to get money coaching, not a financial advisor.
Right.
Coach first. then go to the financial advisor. So if you don't rewrite a new money story, you will be back to where you started from. Point blank, period. And here's the other thing, so that's more of an esoteric answer. But let's get more concrete.
Right.
You got to have boundaries.
Yes.
Yes.
Most people lack discipline and they lack boundaries. Boundaries meaning somebody come to you ask for money, it's a no from me.
Right.
Sorry, I've already, there's scripts, there's language that you can use so that you just don't sound mean and harsh, right?
Right.
But you don't have to, especially if you win a lottery, you don't have to give everybody everything.
Right.
Yeah.
A boundary could be a certain dollar amount that you put towards giving to others once a month. And once that amount is spent, I'm so sorry, I have already given at the limit that I have designated for this month. Next time.
Wow.
There are stories that you got to take care of each other and family first, and we take care of our own, and that start to plant stuff like that where you feel obligated.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do believe that we should take care of family first. I firmly believe that. That's my belief. I that. However, there are other ways that we can take care of family.
Right. And I guess I mean in terms of, if we win the lottery, I don't have a problem being mean and hurting feelings. We haven't won the lottery, and I don't have a problem with being mean and hurting feelings. I'm cool with it. But some people, that idea that if I get something, then it's my responsibility to take care of everyone. And that has bitten us in the behind before, that trying to fix things and help everyone without really thinking of how that help is impacting us as a core unit.
Yeah.
So good. Like, that's so deep. That really can go really deep into a conversation. I feel like I want to write that down because I could really unpack that on my podcast. What that is that's a fear-based way of thinking. When we feel like we have to take care of everybody or we have this obligation, it's a story. That comes from some story. That comes from something that happened where we were the ones that were put in charge of something and we had to take care of people. And, people who took care of their younger siblings and were given adult responsibilities at a very young age, and we carry that into our adulthood. That comes from something that needs to be explored and unpacked. And if that is a habit that people have that you want to change, but you're finding it hard to, that's where you get therapy and coaching.
Right.
You got to unpack that, especially if it doesn't make you feel good. If it feels burdensome when you do it.
Right.
Come on, this is 2020. Oh, y'all. We got to break out of these old habits and beliefs that don't serve us.
And that is why when I say I don't have a problem saying no or being mean, or because I realize that if I'm doing something for someone and I feel bad about doing it, or I'm upset about doing it, I'm not benefiting. I'm not helping them. I mean, the tangible help maybe, but in the end, I'm going to start to feel the way when I hear your name or whatnot. So if I feel like if there's an event, if there's something needed, whatever it is, I don't have a problem saying no, because if I say yes against my will, it will come back and it will hurt both of us.
Right.
That's an excellent point. You just set somebody free with that. And it drives home this idea that I'm hoping everyone will consider. And that is that as families, we have to be able to sit down and have these type of conversations. Our immediate families, we really need to be able to sit down over a meal, over a card game or something where we can have these conversations and communicate our boundaries? What are our expectations? Let's talk about setting up a trust for our children. Let's talk about how we're going to build generational wealth so that our kids won't have to struggle and hustle and grind. We want to leave a legacy for our nieces and nephews and godbabies. If you don't have kids, the people that you love, what we're doing should be about legacy. It shouldn't just be about today.
Right.
You have grandkids one day.
Right.
Wouldn't it be nice if your grandkids, because of the fact that you're setting up a trust, that they don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for college if that's what they decide to do?
Right.
It'd be nice if your grandkids had a trust set up so that once they're 25, they can go and invest in their first property or that piece of land. Build some wealth for our kids, but we can't do that if we're not having these conversations.
Right.
If we're not including the kids, even at young ages, in conversations about money and how we're going to spend in our family budget and what we're going to say yes to and what we're going to say no to and why, because we're saving and planning for the future. Come on, y'all. Let's have these conversations out here in these streets.
And you definitely needs to have.
That needs to happen to start to remove that shame and that guilt, because as long as shame and guilt are there, those negative feelings are there, you're not going to be open for those opportunities that are trying to get to you. You're not going to be able to align to those things because you're steeped in that negative part.
You know, we talk about them and we've made jokes about them throughout the years, but, you know, there's a certain group of people that I'm sure they're everywhere. And, you know, we always picked about them being, you know, a bunch of people living in the house or a bunch of people living in a car.
Mm-hmm.
So the group economics that they're practicing.
Right. Yes.
You may have a relative that's coming in from their home country and then we're going to teach you how to do this, going to teach you how to do that. And once we're going to move over here, you get this house. And just those type of practices alone in itself is creating that generational transformation. So you're transforming lives.
Right.
From every other generation that comes over. You're giving them the tools to say, here, come over here, learn this trade, learn this and learn this. And that's people always talking about, well, how they coming over here and getting all this money, because they're doing things the way that they've been forced to. Right. It'd probably be a benefit for all of us to practice some of those things.
Right.
So true. People don't like to think of things like that because it's not sexy. Everybody wants to have, you know, this type of house.
Right.
In group economics, I think is something that should be revisited. It may not be for everybody.
Right.
Let's just look at our own families. Like when we had intergenerational families under the same, for many, that we were able to save money. We were able to make sure grandma and grandpa, if they're alive and, you know, viable, active, they could help raise these children, right? Children things. We could all benefit from presence of each other and learn and grow. And I mean, it has so many benefits, and just getting back to that, and that's powerful.
And from a financial standpoint, but also from with kids, just that the rearing of children and how different kids are, that lack of respect for your elders because you're not around them, or because that generational difference in parenting has created rifts with families and things. So just the ability to have that type of connecting also.
There's value in that. Value.
I say all of that, but I don't want to live with my I love her.
See, as we plan and let me just say the right word. Begin to improve our relationship with money, right? We can have a situation where grandma may not live in the same house, but next door, or maybe if depending on where your land is,
right?
You know, at land that's a little bit farther over here on the other side. You know what I'm saying? That's the ideal. If grandma's 2 doors down,
right.
or
something that we have discussed at one point in time, some of our close knits, we're talking about co-opting it, going in and buying some land and, buy, a couple of acres, and then, you got this acre, we got this acre, and this family member has this acre.
Yeah.
Chip in and pay taxes on it, use the land to build our homes and things like that. Like you said, the mindset has changed for a lot of people because we've been taught to be selfish about our money. We've been taught to only think about ourselves, and this is what I'm going to do for my family. And it's hard to change that mindset with some people.
Right.
And
that way of living may not be for everybody. And, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know when my parents get to where they can't live in their home, my intention is to make sure they come and live with us. And my husband already knows that, so that's just my decision and my choice. But I just think, sometimes some of the traditional ideals,
right,
we should revisit, especially in these times we live in today. My parents don't nurse at home if I can not do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's a big conversation right there too.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole.
And look, meanwhile, in my brain, I'm trying to figure out land and where we gonna run away to because but anyways, let me reel myself back on in here. So we've enjoyed this so much, but I guess we have to share you with our listeners. So
yeah.
If our listeners want to learn more, where can they find you online? And you tell us a little bit more about your book because you didn't brag quite enough, and your podcast and
yes. Okay, so the book, I happen to have it right here.
All right. Yes.
And Margaret, please make sure I get your address. I want to send you a hard copy of it.
I will do that.
It's a super short book. You can literally look, it's only like 100-some pages. It's so tiny. You can read this one rainy Saturday afternoon if you ain't going nowhere. It's 8 simple steps that you can take right now that'll put you on the path to abundance. And a lot of it is around mindset. 8 simple steps. And I guarantee if you take those steps, your financial life will look a lot different. I'd say even as soon as 60 or 90 days. And strategic about it. So I'll make sure I'll get that to you. If people want to buy the book, they can go to my website, overflownow.com, overflownow.com. I do coaching. I train money coaches. So I want people to be able to go out into the world and do some of the same work that I'm doing, teaching about abundance and kingdom wealth, I like to call it, for you believe it. So all of that's at my website, overflownow.com. I coach, I train, I do workshops. And then my podcast, which you see behind me, is Sisternomics. And that's everywhere you can listen to podcasts. And we talk about how women can fix their money situation and build their own thriving economy so that they can live in the overflow.
Yes.
I love to create content, community, and offer coaching. And that's my jam. And that's what my life is about. I'm building this empire because I feel like, just like I see in y'all, there's a gold mine inside of you. So I'm mining the gold that's in me. I'm getting all my gifts and talents, and I'm monetizing it out in this world.
Yes.
I just encourage you two specifically, because you have such a gem here. Not a lot of people talk about starting a podcast, but y'all are some of the few that's actually done it. And I can see that it can be amazing. And so I, again, encourage you, but I also encourage your listeners, that gold that's within you, give it as a gift to the world, monetize it. And when you begin to do that, money will flow to you with ease and grace, and it will flow to you from surprising places, and you will never worry about money, and you will live in the overflow.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Beyond I Do podcast.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.